Josh, I wanted to ask you about Bergdahl. Can you name one member of Congress, a Democrat or Republican, who has demanded operational details of the military mission?
I'm not in a position to. I mean, you can ask them if that's something that they would be
citing
interested in.
That as a reason to not inform Congress
No.
about this swap. Yes, you are. That's what you were doing with John, repeatedly. You said that we're not about to give up operational details. Who's asking for operational details?
What I was making clear, Ed, is that we had repeatedly consulted with members of Congress about our ongoing efforts to obtain the release of Sergeant Bergdahl. That consultation is something that this administration remains committed to, and that consultation was shared with a wide variety of members of Congress, including the leadership and those in relevant communities.
The swap it was shared?
Well, over the course of
months ago.
Oh, I'm talking about both both this year and in previous years. That this had been the source of a number of discussions between senior administration officials and our
national security.
That's correct.
These briefings last night with Tony Blinken and other officials here, House members came out, some of them on the record, including Republican Buck McKeon, chairman of the Armed Services Committee. He says that when pressed about who made the final call on this swap, that Tony Blinken, Deputy National Security Advisor here, said Chuck Hagel, the Defense Secretary. Is that true?
Well, ultimately, I mean, it's the Commander-in-Chief's responsibility to make sure that no American service member is left behind. Right. And this is a principle the President is committed to. The President himself talked about why this was an important principle to protect and why he believed that this exchange of prisoners was in the best interest of our national security. And that is something that Secretary Hagel and every other member of the President's national security team agreed with. So there's no daylight between the President and any of his national security advisors about the wisdom of this decision.
But the President signed off on this, just to be clear, or did Chuck Hagel? Did the President sign off on the swap?
Well, the President's the Commander-in-Chief, and the President's the one that's ultimately responsible for making sure that we fulfill this commitment, that we don't leave anybody behind. Now, there were some attendant decisions to be made about what we could do to mitigate the threat to our national security through the release of these 5 Gitmo detainees. The President determined that that threat to our national security had been sufficiently mitigated. That was something that the Secretary of Defense also certified. But that was also the widespread, unanimous agreement of the President's national security team.